Welcome to the live concept art session that we're doing today. I am CCP Larrikin. I'm a game designer. I am not a concept artist.
I am CCP Pointy. I am a concept artist.
And CCP Acid Burn, and also concept artist.
So we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're trying to combine concept art and game design. The way it works in CCP is sometimes the game designers come up, or actually anyone comes up with an idea, and they come to art and they're like, hey, can we make this cool thing? And art go, yeah, let's make this cool thing. And sometimes it goes the other way. The artists come to us and like, hey, we've got this cool idea for a ship, let's make this cool thing. And then we go, hey, how does this work in game? So we're going to try and combine those two today. We encourage audience participation. Let's have one person shouting at a time and try and make sure you're a little bit clear. I am going to make a pretty big disclaimer. What we're showing you today, we are definitely not ever going to put into the game. I just want to make that incredibly clear. Huge big disclaimer on this, guys. You shouldn't expect the stuff that we're playing with today ever to be in the game. No, I mean it. I'm serious. This is not even soon TM. All right, not even soon TM. All right, let's start off with CCP Acid Burn. Let's talk about what your concept, what you've got, what's your inspiration there.
Cool. So when starting to make a ship, I tried to first give myself my mood board. This is what I want to achieve with this ship. This is all of my feelings and the goals of what these people are doing here is what I want to achieve with what we're going to show how we would make.
So what are you thinking about this? Are you thinking like something that kind of is like signifies the fleet that you're flying for, or is it more like a fleet thing that's like, hey, this is who I am? Is it like what's your emotions about this?
Yeah, I just want that standard bearer feeling. I want this ship to be, maybe it's not firing guns or anything, but it's definitely there holding your territory in the space that you're fighting for, and just your allegiance. So you're seeing all of these different kind of alliances and corporations there, and these ships would be that ship that holds that flag.
So kind of like the old school Roman standard bearer, the most honored sergeant in the army, and that's a guy. When that falls over, then all hope is lost.
Yeah, exactly. And but these would be the rallying cry, and everyone would protect the ship. I think they would feel like this would be very important.
It's literally like the flagship, basically.
Yes, but we won't call it a flagship. It's a different name.
Yeah. All right, sweet.
And so starting off with these images, I would start making my little thumbnails. Now these aren't meant to be the good ideas. These are meant to be the shit ideas that I get out of my brain first, so that I'm not wasting my time with bad things.
So what's that? What's that weird one down the bottom middle? That looks like an actual banner. Is that an idea of what you want for a ship? Or?
I mean, it's just at this point looking at my reference images and the feelings that I think they kind of evoke, and then trying to get that into some shitty squiggly lines, and then it would be from here that I would start refining, and I'd start kind of thinking about these racial different ships. So I thought it would be fun to show one for each main race, and these were the initial shapes that I thought might represent.
All right. Well, let's talk to CCP Pointy bits and talk about what your concept is.
Okay. So basically, I wanted a ship that was going to play off of what I think is EVE's strengths, which is positional gameplay. So I came up with these ideas of it's going to be a ship that almost locks itself down. It has limitations compared to other ships. It will be very directional in terms of both the art and how it actually plays. And just something that we can show off in a cinematic that would be really, really cool.
Okay.
New players will see it and they go, I really want to play that thing.
Yeah,
kind of like stealth bombs in This Is EVE.
Yeah, I guess you look at the ship and you immediately know what this is for, right? This is a stealth bomber. It's got a big bomb that launches.
I understand how this thing fucks up other people, basically, really well.
Yeah.
So going from there, I came up with this idea of basically a base ship where the ship itself doesn't really matter. What matters is the weapon. And that weapon is going to be nearly half the ship. It's going to be a giant weapon mounted down the center of the ship.
Okay.
It can only fire forwards, and it takes up a huge portion of the ship visually.
All right.
So
like kind of like the spine of the ship sort of thing.
Yeah, so basically a spinal mount ship, as you can see here.
Oh, okay.
So what I did before this was I designed kind of a base ship where you can see the weapon hardpoint, some other things. This isn't that important. What is important is we are going to let you tell us which kinds of weapons you would like to see on this. Do you want to see big railguns? Do you want to see giant Gatling cannons? And just go really crazy during the session, designing some really out-of-this-world weapons that wouldn't fit on any other ship, essentially. So before we go back to CCP Afterburn, we want to ask you guys what weapon would you like to see us draw in the next 10 minutes?
Just shout it out, guys. We're not...
Someone said shotgun.
I heard lasers a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a laser. We're going to come back to this if we have time and try and do a few. Yeah, it'll be basically like a miniaturized Doomsday on a much smaller ship.
So when CCB Pointy Bits comes up with an idea like this, he might come to me and we'll have a coffee or whatever the case may be, and we'll start thinking about maybe how the gameplay of this works. So in fact, CCP Rise kind of played with a similar idea to this, where you would have some sort of maybe like a bomb launcher, and you could like rapidly launch a bomb every couple of seconds. It didn't do a lot of damage, but if it ran into a ship, or maybe it did some AoE damage like that. Is that something that sounds kind of cool? Nope, I guess not. So another idea that we've also played with is what happens if you had like we're saying, a spinal mount ship that went down the center of your ship. You could only fire it in a 30-degree cone. You'd still have to lock onto targets, but it did 50% more damage than a regular gun, and you had to be flying towards what you wanted to shoot at. So if I wanted to shoot CCP Pointy Bits, I would have to fly towards him, which means he gets a bit of a better shot at me, but I do an awful lot of damage to him. If CCP Pointy Bits can maneuver out of the way, then my gun would turn off and I would stop doing damage with him. That's the sort of game design things we would start playing around with here. Now, this is purely in the design space. We're not looking at technical implementation. I would have to go to CCP Master Plan or CCP Felicius or someone and be like, hey, how could we technically implement that? And they would call me an idiot, but then let's move on from that part of it. But yeah, we would start thinking about how we could possibly implement this in the game and whether it would be fun to do that. But let's go back to CCP Afterburn and see what he's come up with.
Sweet. So going forward with the Racial 4, just even at this early stage, just trying to think about what maybe animations they will do. Hooper and I talked about if they were the flag bearer, they need to be doing something that's visible. They need to be seen. So Caldari here will have it closed up for flight, and then when it opens up, I want this to be the kind of Greek pillar that was being influenced before, but also corporate and billboards and things like that. When I was thinking about the Amar, I wanted it to open up like a peacock and be really kind of showy and just show off for the wealth, and like a cathedral stained glass type thing.
So some of the game design ideas when we first started thinking about this concept was, hey, what if we had some sort of kind of like a command ship, right? You go into the battlefield, but then you go into almost a siege mode, and we give you massive bonuses to that. So, I mean, we're not thinking about numbers at all at this stage. We're just thinking about what is the raw gameplay behind this. If I go into a siege mode and in some sort of area around me, some sort of bubble, I give, I don't know, plus 50% armor resists or something crazy like that. If we have gameplay like that, obviously we want to make it incredibly clear that this ship is no longer mobile. It's stationary, and we need to show that very clearly in the animations and the stance of the ship.
Yeah, and so those, I just showed the Mimitar one. Wanted that to kind of open up like a fireplace, and then the Galante wanted it to kind of I guess open up like a flower.
Oh, wonderful Galante.
Something nice. And it's at this stage, probably saw like with the cormorant redesign, what I do here is I have my initial shapes and lines, but to make sure I keep it within their design language and whatnot, I'll do something here where I'll take an existing ship and kind of bash it into the other shape.
What do you mean? What do you mean bash?
So it's like kit bashing. So if you ever played with Warhammers, you would have.
No, I'm
like,
not a Warhammer nerd. What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Or Barbie dolls, maybe.
Yeah, that fits.
You would take the extra parts and put them together and make your own kind of model from that. And so doing this, we would take this kind of shape and then layer it in. And so this is just kind of copying, pasting, and putting it over, but then layering it on top of the shape that I had decided before. And already it's kind of giving us some cheap and easy kind of directions we could go with this. I'm already seeing down here like that's going to be a really nice spot to have this blue and static glow coming from it. It's going to be a really nice point to open up as well. My girlfriend pointed out like it's kind of like a harmonica now. And so we open up the sides of that harmonica and we got more space to put in effects, and I think it's going to go well in that direction. I love the Amar Titan, and I want to see more shapes like that. And so here, just straight taking that shape, taking those designs and putting it into this. The Galante one is really bare minimum at the moment, just trying to figure it out. It's definitely not something I'm strong with. We have better artists for the Galante, and they do a much better job with that.
Yeah.
And Minmatar just wanted to keep it rugged and open it up. It's lots of exposed parts, and so we'll take that part.
So it's this stage of the game design, we wouldn't be thinking about bonuses or anything like that. Like, we're not even close to that stage. We'd be more interested, is this gameplay actually fun? Like, if I'm in the middle of a battle and I go into siege and I'm giving my friends a big bonus, I mean, that's super nice, but is it fun to be that guy? If you're the guy that's just stationary in the middle of the battle, you might be doing a whole bunch of stuff for your friends, so definitely your fleet's going to want one of these, but is that role fun? Do I feel like I'm contributing? Do I feel like I have an active part of the battle, or once I've gone into siege, am I kind of just a bystander at this stage? So we might come back to art, or we might play with ideas in game design. We might say, hey, maybe we can get these guys to do something else. Maybe we can give them remote reps or something, or maybe they can have some sort of weaponry on them. But all of that kind of takes away from the core purpose of the ship and just ends up overriding other roles. If we give them remote reps, then they're kind of just some sort of hybrid command ship force auxiliary. If we give them guns, then we're just really talking about a command ship dreadnought. Like, we don't want to go down that route. We want them to be kind of unique. So we might actually step back from this and we might say, hey, CCP Acid Burn, that's a cool idea, but we don't actually think it's very fun for you to be stationary and giving these bonuses. What else could we do? Could we maybe deploy some sort of probe or something that gave the bonuses, like sort of an interdictor that does this? Or maybe we could launch some sort of fighters that you would position around your fleet that could give those bonuses. Yeah. Can you run up some concepts on that, and let's see how this feels?
Yeah, and then I would make something like this, very easy and simple, but just for us to kind of imagine, maybe they would deploy these, and much like when you're scanning down a site, you might move these around the map, and then that would be your contribution. You wouldn't be firing guns, but you'd be moving these points around, and you'd say, broadcast, I want everyone going over here. It's a trap, get everyone over here. And they would move these around. You'd be little tacticians, you'd see your map, and you'd have a live update of your fleet formation, and that would be your role. So you're standing there, you're looking really pretty, but you're doing all of this in the background. So, and while that, we would play with some potential effects of these ships as well. And this would be, an early stage of us figuring out what they might look like while they stand there and look really nice, and move these little probe points around the place. So again, peacocking there, and maybe it would space fire as, it's just concept art as you turn it to 13 and someone else tones it back down. So I don't know if we would be able to do that, but it's fun. Yeah.
Larrikin likes to say design drunk and edit sober, and that's definitely what we do with concept art.
Yeah.
It's what we try and do on game design too. Think up crazy ideas and then come back and edit them later, put them into something a little bit realistic. Let's check out what Pointy Vince has got for us so far.
So yeah, in that little amount of time, I basically drew a giant laser disc thing with a lot of, I guess, heating equipment or cooling equipment on it. And I imagine this would just kind of fire in a normal kind of doomsday beam.
Yeah, okay.
Like, maybe it takes a bit of time to charge, as soon as you hit it, maybe there's like 10 seconds where all this stuff starts glowing. We fire maybe a tiny beam, kind of like the Lance Doomsdays, which warns everyone what's about to happen.
Yeah, okay.
Oops. That's what happens when it fires.
So at this stage, are we thinking about something that maybe like you kind of side through a fleet, or like an area of effect in a single area? Like what are your thoughts here? Or
I mean, with this one, I would say I purposely kind of designed the ship so, you can imagine there's like tiny engines at the back. There's not a lot of maneuverability to this.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of it is just an oversized gun. So this one can only maybe fire in like a cylinder that goes out and just deals almost single target damage to anything that intersects that. So this is something that you could drop to attack carriers and other large, like fairly immobile things from a distance.
So this might not even be a big ship. This might be something, say, a destroyer size that doesn't have a bunch of mobility, but if you can maneuver it into the right spot, like you can hit a large mobile target for a ton of damage.
Yeah, I mean, when designing this, I was kind of thinking sort of battle cruiser sized.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of like, continue the line of the attack battle cruisers where they have their battleship-sized weapons.
Yeah.
And just go for something like almost dreadnought-sized in terms of we just mount it onto a quite small hull.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud of this little thing that just happened. But we have more, basically, so... Little wheels.
Why do you need wheels in spaceship? That doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, what if you want to land?
Yeah.
This is clearly something that's... There we go. There's your little wheels. So this is the point where you ask Larrikin when we get planetary combat.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, we still have a lot of time for other weapons. So a mining laser. I feel
That's
like
kind of cool idea.
But I feel like that's quite close to the laser we've already got. What about something like a giant railgun, giant missiles?
A shotgun.
A shotgun.
What about a missile shotgun?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, at this point, so we've been designing these like down the center. So for a missile shotgun, we could definitely do something kind of like
what?
offset pods, kind of like those.
Oh yeah, okay. Like
anti-air.
on the side of like attack helicopters and stuff.
Yeah, like missile pods off the sides. Maybe they could do something dumb, like they fire and then they eject into space, and more of them kind of cycle back in and stuff.
So like while this thing's flying, we could like do some sort of like boson damage wave or something.
Yeah.
And then the missile pods would eject into space, fly back, and then explode or something. We'd hand wave that away. Like we don't want people running into them or something. But yeah, okay, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea how to balance that. That would just be incredibly OP. But
Yeah.
that's for later. That's for tomorrow Hooper to worry about.
What's that?
Sentry drone launchers. What, like shoot the sentry drones at the person? Like some big bow and arrow thing.
I feel like this is going to come back to corpse launchers later.
Yeah. A web bomb.
Oh, grappling hook. We'll see if we can come back to some of these ideas. I'm going to do the shotgun missiles for now, and we can go back to CCB acid then.
Okay. So So at this point, done some painting on top of our kit bash, and also skipped a stage, but that would be just drawing on top of our crappy little bash, just to keep our ideas fresh. And then you can also see the battleship there as well, just kind of wanting to make sure we get some type of idea for scale at this point.
So we probably would have been playing around with this idea a little bit. We probably would have discarded the whole idea of a single one of these going into siege and giving bonuses to around it, like some sort of inverse Hector or something. But what we might play around with on the design phase is like, what happens if we have a couple of these and we effectively sort of draw some field between them. So if you can imagine 3 of them in a plane, if we have 2 up front and 1 at the back, we get a triangle, and if you operate inside that area, maybe you get massive bonuses. So if you put a 4th one down, now you have a 3D area that you can try and operate in. On the balance side, we might start looking at this going, okay, well, this is interesting, but if these go into siege, that is going to obviously restrict their mobility, and now the fleet trying to take advantage of these bonuses is going to have to stay within this area, and the ships themselves maybe won't get these bonuses. Logically, they're kind of outside the field that they're projecting, and there's some really cool sort of thematic gameplay there. If we take out a single leg of this 4 ships, then the whole field collapses and no one's going to get any of these cool bonuses anymore.
Yeah, we're also thinking like maybe they would see each other's probes in that kind of tactical map that they might have, and that way they get to kind of plan together about what direction they are taking the fight.
Yeah. So you've got red pen lay. What is that?
This is just something that we can do to just point out our mistakes, be our own art director here, and seeing the one on the left and then how it should change to the one on the right. It's seeing that this is quite a flat shape all the way down, and then on this one it's got these kind of like right corners.
Okay.
Right corners?
Yeah.
That's not right, but yeah, it's not going to fold out like that. So doing these types of layers, we can kind of check ourselves and make sure that we're making things cooler, but also making things work. So later on down the line, when it does come to someone modeling it, they're not going to say, hey, no, this doesn't make sense. This looks like this on here, and then when it comes over here, it looks really different.
So would you guys ever do any of the modeling, like the preliminary modeling for this, or is that purely? Yeah.
So with the cormorant, I don't know Greywind's CCP name, but
I don't know either.
Chess boxing, left rook, I think it is. CCP left rook. He modeled the cormorant, but I did a real crappy little model in 3D coat, and that sped things up a bit because he could just see that and the ideas that I wanted for it from any angle. And so otherwise you're drawing from every angle, and it can take a little bit longer, but also sometimes it's better to do it that way. Just depends on the ship really, and the ideas, how complicated.
Yeah.
These are.
What about would you like specific detail drawings of different areas? So like in the bottom of the Mimitar one there, that whole like wing assembly stuff gets kind of complicated, and I'm trying to figure out how the back tri leg wing bit, wingy bit, I don't know what you call that.
Yeah.
How does that fold down?
Yeah, I mean, like later on, I would do kind of an animation pass to show what way I thought that they would move. But yeah, it's a good thing because you bring that up, because like with this red pen layer, this is where you want to try and solve those problems. So later on, you've not spent a day or 2 drawing and painting, and then realize that you fucked it up like right at the start.
Yeah. So at this stage, we would probably be bouncing around more game design ideas, and I mean, the obvious realization with any sort of concept like this is building some sort of area in which you get bonuses. We're completely replicating the gameplay of command ships. So one of 2 things are going to happen. Either command ships are going to be good enough that no one bothers with these because they don't want to lose their mobility, or these are just going to completely replace command ships and overshadow them, and no one's ever going to use command boosts anymore.
Yeah.
So we might still try and use this concept. So we would come to CCP Acid Burn and start playing around with different concepts.
Yeah, so this was a a quick thing as we were sitting down and talking about it. Just made this up just to have a look at how these bubbles might interact with each other. I like the idea that these ships are kind of setting the formations of your battle line, maybe trench type warfare, slowly moving forward or fast. I don't really know. It'd be EVE thing.
Yeah, so like formations is something that the EVE players have kind of talked about and we've talked about before, but as soon as you start thinking about the practical aspects of a formation, they kind of don't make a lot of sense in space.
Yeah.
Like flying off the wing of someone else doesn't give you any bonuses. It's not like you can get turbulence, which means you have less fuel costs or something like that, because that's, this isn't space. But we can have some similar gameplay where we can strain the areas that you fly. So maybe you don't have to fly specifically, 1.5 meters off that guy's wing, but you can like hide behind someone or something like that, or you have to operate within a certain area. So we might start playing around with some sort of line of sight ideas. I mean, the Amar one here is like a really strong sort of shield. It speaks to me about shielding, like, oh, maybe I can shelter my fleet behind this somehow, or maybe this can project some sort of shield, or maybe I need multiple of them, and using 3 of them I can shield some sort of space, so any damage coming through that plane that they can project might be lessened or might not happen at all. I don't know. I mean, obviously we're going to have to talk to engineers about this, but we'll start playing with these ideas and seeing how that alters the view of them, the concept.
Yeah, totally.
Let's check out Pointy Bits.
Hi. So yeah, this is very different to this one, basically. With the missile pods to the sides, maybe some sort of cool like auto-loading system where these, like after it's fired a salvo, this thing comes down, like it has an arm or something, and just brings up these pods, and like these things straight up just get shot out, like ejected, because they've been spent. And now the front is much more like sensor equipment. It kind of looks like a weird little cute robot, so I imagine someone's going to ask me to put a hat on it soon.
Someone said disco lights.
Disco lights.
Disco lights.
Yeah. How about one of those, like, the disco balls? So, like, when this thing warps in and it's come to fuck up your day, it's also going to BM you by throwing a little party for itself. And yeah, we'll use that new lighting technology from the suns. It'll project onto all the ships around it. It'll be the most popular guy in the fleet. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a cool idea.
That looks really cool.
Maybe, maybe it does work like that bomb launcher we were talking about.
Yeah, this fits really well with the concept of some sort of launching a bomb that isn't like a stealth thing. It's actually something that sort of moves around the battlefield, and maybe these bombs do a bunch less damage, or they have to hit the target, or it launches a couple of them. I'm not sure. It's something we would want to maybe play test. So if we were really excited about this idea, what we might do next is, hey, let's make like a really crude prototype in the game, and then start just playtesting this on internal servers. Does this feel fun? Is this an interesting sort of gameplay? What UI challenges do we have to make? I mean, immediately with any sort of bomb launching and directional gameplay, the way that your ship facing is not actually always the way the ship's going or where the bomb's going to go. So we might go and talk to Psycho Sisters about this as well and say, hey guys, we're really keen about some directional gun gameplay, but we're going to need some support from you guys to make this work. Dead shit, right? We're going to need some support from you guys to make this work. Can we have some projection on your vector about exactly where the bombs are going to land, like we have on the bombers? Or can we have some sort of cone that when you've got this active, you can see what ships you can possibly damage? Can we make something with a massive Gatling gun?
Yes. Yes, we can. We have the technology.
We have the technology.
We probably don't have the technology, but we can ask for it. So yeah, I can do a Gatling gun. Can I
which
fire
one?
the what?
Yeah, we're going to build a ship with a Gatling gun that fires wormhole stabilizers. Triggered.
It will fire scanning probes. It will be the most useful thing ever.
I mean, something we might play with this on the game design side is we might go, if we have a cool Gatling gun, we could go back to our original idea where you have to still lock the target and your Gatling gun will fire at that. But instead of being so like damage ticks, like, oh, I do damage every 6 seconds, maybe we do a continuous amount of damage as this Gatling gun starts speeding up. And then once it gets to full rate, we do like 50% more damage or something. So you're rewarded for staying on the same target.
Yeah, and unlike maybe these other two, where I imagine once you fire, you're locked into the vector that you're firing in. A Gatling gun type thing could have extra rotational boosters, so it can actually like turn.
Yeah.
And basically your alignment speed becomes a big gameplay factor for just if you're able to track.
Yeah.
So maybe
it's
you want
like
a nanofiber fit
like
or
a
something?
turret, but it only has 30% movement or something like that. Yeah, okay, that sounds cool.
And your counterplay is you try and get a really tight orbit on it or something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're kind of screwed by this intense damage that starts happening.
Yeah.
A Gatling railgun. Okay, so I was going to do those two separate ideas, but I like that idea, so I'm going to try and figure that out.
A
Gatling gun
flak
with
cannon.
railguns in the middle.
Wait, a Gatling railgun flat cannon mounted on a howitzer? Good luck.
Yeah. Let's cut away from me now.
Okay. So, this point would just go back to doing kind of simple line drawings to figure out the exact shapes and not be too influenced by the kit bash or the other steps. That they're really useful and they contribute a lot to getting to this stage, but sticking with them sometimes can mean that you're just kind of recreating those things, which is also good because you want to make them all feel like they're in the same family and have been made by the same places. But doing a line pass like this can just kind of keep your ideas fresh in your head, so you're not.
So this is a little bit similar to the red layer, but it's like a step away, like a step back in concept almost.
Yeah, just get rid of the colors, get rid of everything else, and just now we're just looking at the silhouette, just the shape.
Yeah.
And you know, when you look at like Pokemon, you know exactly the thing, and we would like that to be the same with the ships.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the silhouette's super important for that.
How does that get difficult? Like especially for the Galante ship, there you've got I guess a whole bunch of curves, but it's kind of hard to draw curves. I mean, honestly, I have troubles drawing stick figures, but
yeah, this is why like I don't know. We have better artists for Galante and Amar, things that everyone has their kind of strong race that they like to work with, and yeah, I don't think I would be doing Galante any justice by making ships for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be kind of this kind of pass, and then we would get onto the final painting, which would then take them to something like that that we would maybe use as inspiration for further development, or maybe we say, hey, we like this. Let's maybe think of a Tech 2 or some variations to it. And we've got the effects again. I really wanted the cathedral stained glass glow.
yeah, that looks really good.
With them. For the Minmatar, I wanted the effect to feel very forge-like. So when you can see inside the ship, I wanted it to have this kind of melting metal feeling coming out of it.
Yeah.
And then, again, opening like a flower for the Galante. Again, I don't know how I would do it, but it would just be something like organic and humming. And yeah, that would be where I would take those type thing. Yeah.
Sweet.
Take my money and give me money.
Yeah. So I think it's just one more like kind of big version there. Yeah. But yeah, this would be kind of where I would take that. I think we should go back to.
I'm not ready yet.
You're not ready yet?
Go back to me.
Oh,
So what we might do from now is we might decide from a game design perspective that we really like this idea of sort of positional gameplay. That sounds really cool. And some sort of protection that doesn't just overshadow command ships. So we don't want to go with dead bonuses, but can you imagine like a firewall but for guns, something like that? So some way you can protect a part of space, and if you bring your fleet in behind that, you take less damage from that direction. So it rewards you for maneuvering in a smaller area, but there's obviously ways to counter that, and it really appeals to those sci-fi tropes, right? You can imagine some of these big ships going to siege, establishing a massive shield that protects you from some of that damage. It can reward fleets that can maneuver around a little bit more, which it sort of plays into our existing game balance of mobility versus damage and less mobility.
Yeah. So after we would have that conversation with several coffees, I would go away and maybe work on something. Oh, that shouldn't be on. Like this. And we would get to see, like, okay, maybe this is what it could look like. It's very inspirational and whatnot. But between these ships, we want them to have an effect that maybe stealths everything behind it. So the people in front, they can't scan past this wall, and you can have the surprise attack. So we would then make a little effect type thing, and we would see our ships coming through and slowly being revealed, and everything else behind it is now concealed. And these ships would be, that would be what they brought to their fight. That would be their whole
that would protect them from damage or protect them from electronic warfare or whatever we decide.
Anything, yeah. And we would play with all of these different types of effects. Andre, I'm sure, would have a shit ton of ideas for this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so part of this process would also be putting not production ready demos onto our test servers and doing some combat with this, seeing if it's fun, seeing if it feels interesting.
Yeah.
And then we would start talking more with the engineers. Hey, what is the cost of trying to implement this sort of effect, this sort of gameplay? What happens when we start scaling that? We'll start doing some mass tests and seeing if this is something that we can even achieve given sort of the load that it would generate.
Yeah. And one of the other ideas you had was a huge forward-facing shield that would protect their fleet. And I thought Caldari would be good at that. And so we put this on. Maybe that's what they would do. Maybe these ships would fly forward and protect everyone behind them. And
kind of project a massive shield in front of them that they can, That is super cool.
And
I can't believe you did all that in an hour.
I know, it's so quick. Yeah. But yeah. And now you good to do this?
Yeah. I think I've kind of achieved more in an hour, maybe.
I think so.
So yeah, I think this will be a perfectly balanced ship. I think Larrikin is looking very forward to the May release of this.
This sounds fine.
Done. Ship it.
What have you called it? Shippy McGuddle Railgun Face?
Yeah, it's Shippy McShipface's little brother.
I like it. Yeah, no, this sounds great. I'm sure this will get past all of our checks, get past the art director, get past storyline, get past game design.
Yeah, the shark face will only be available on Serenity, of course.
Sweet. Cool. Nothing else on the other side. That's kind of what we have for you guys today. I don't know how long we have. We have 5 minutes for questions, so maybe if we go to the mics on the side, if they're still around, and we can have a couple of questions. Otherwise, yeah. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.